The truth that sooner or later had to come out. China is secretly arming Russia. The Telegraph reveals how the Kremlin's war machine is being supplied directly from Beijing. And now the publication has discovered that Chinese companies are supplying a large number of parts for the production of drones and more, which are then used in Ukraine. And the Chinese won't be punished for these supplies. In this episode, I'll explain what the Telegraph uncovered and how China is aiding Russia in its fight against Ukraine. But, I'll note right away that the Telegraph has identified a total of 97 Chinese suppliers who regularly help Putin's war machine. My name is Pechiy. Today is September 3rd on the calendar. Now let's break down this topic together. But before we begin, I want to point out that fresh news analysis episodes are released every day on this YouTube channel. So that you don't miss any news, subscribe to this YouTube channel to stay up to date with all the latest news. Let's go through this step by step. What is the Telegraph covering today? Chinese companies directly supplied parts and materials worth at least 55 million euros to Russian firms under sanctions for drone production from 2023 to 2024, while Moscow was building a large-scale logistics infrastructure for its domestic drone program. According to the Telegraph's investigation, almost a quarter of the value of these supplies, 12.5 million euros, was sent to Russian companies connected to the production of Iranian Shahed kamikaze drones operating in a special economic zone in the city of Yelabuga. According to the publication's analysis of global trade data collected by Sayari, goods exported by China to Russia included aircraft engines, microchips, metal alloys, camera lenses, fiberglass, and carbon fibers. These are all key components for the production of drones that strike Ukraine every night. In total, the Telegraph identified 97 Chinese suppliers. Publicly, China demonstrates neutrality regarding Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but its supply of drone parts points to close military cooperation between Beijing and Moscow. On the battlefield, this is confirmed by the fact that Ukrainian soldiers regularly find downed Russian equipment with Chinese parts. Direct involvement in the war by supplying military equipment or troops, as North Korea does, is too risky for China in terms of its strategic interests. That's why Beijing supports Moscow from the sidelines, allowing Chinese companies to export dual-use goods, which led to a record bilateral trade turnover of 246 billion euros in 2024. Well, as Andrea Giselli, a lecturer on China's foreign policy at the university, says, one has a very important interest in the survival of the other. And this won't change. It's a simple geographical reality. And here it's worth noting that China and Russia share a border that's 4,200 kilometers long. This approach allows Beijing to accuse the West of fueling the war by supplying weapons and military equipment to Ukraine. Like, listen, we aren't supplying military equipment to the Russians, but you are. But in reality, China is very much involved. So, in the first 3 months of 2023, as revealed by the Telegraph, the company Ningbo Peak Cloud Import and Export from China supplied Russia with airplanes and aircraft engines worth 3.5 million euros. For the Ural Civil Aviation Plant, which is under sanctions for producing combat drones. And the Chinese say, listen, this is for the civil aviation plant. We're supplying something for civilian airplanes, even though drones are produced at this plant. The Telegraph also identified 5 Russian companies that import components from China and directly use a significant share of Chinese parts in drone production, even though they are under global sanctions. We're talking about the Ural Civil Aviation Plant, Akhmetron, PT Electronic and Radiolife. PT Electronic and PT Electronica are separate companies with only one letter difference in their names and different jurisdictions. As a result, there has been an increase in the production indicators of all these companies. In the first half of 2024, more than 2,000 Harpia drones were produced, compared to 2,500 drones produced by Russia in 2023. The company Milehao Technology, which manufactures engines for the Gerbera drone, supplied products worth more than 1.5 million euros to Russia in 2022 and 2023, both directly and through intermediaries. The main Russian importers were Sequoia, JCS, and Unicom Limited Liability Company. The Telegraph writes that China is likely supplying Russia with much more than is reflected in the trade data, and the estimated value should be considered as a minimum, not a maximum, since neither country always reports shipments accurately. And to some extent, China would be glad to see the war end and peace restored, writes the Telegraph, as this would support its global economic ambitions. China benefits from global stability, but if it has to choose between strategic interests and diplomatic principles, it will choose strategic interests first. Beijing simply cannot turn its back on Putin, writes the Telegraph. That's why, as we can see today in this image, Xi Jinping, Putin and Kim Jong-un are walking together at a military parade. We see that China is starting to flex its muscles, and this leaves no doubt at all that Russia is in Beijing's hands. It's simply a tool they use to ram against the West. In other words, they're attacking the West with someone else's hands. This is in fact a proxy war. And China is simply using Russia to, as they say, distract attention from China, not just distract, but to try to drain the West's strength. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video. It's written right there how to support this channel, or by using the QR code on your screens. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.